So today, we're going to dive into a short but really powerful story called The Bench by the Sea. We're not just going to retell it, though. We're going to use it as a kind of roadmap to figure out the mechanics of finding peace in a world that, let's be honest, just never stops. And it all kicks off with one simple choice. It starts right here. Not with some grand, perfectly laid out plan, but with an escape. I mean, this one sentence just nails that feeling of burnout so many of us know, right? That moment when the only thing left to do is to just stop and leave. The journey doesn't begin with a destination. It begins with the simple, powerful act of walking away from all the noise.
And that leads us right into our first big idea, the escape from noise. What actually pushes someone to just vanish like that? Well, the story suggests it's this universal need to get away from a world that's just constantly throwing demands and questions at us that we just don't have the answers for anymore.
Now, this is a really key point. His goal wasn't to solve the problem head on. It was to change the environment that was creating the problem. I mean, think about it. How often do we try to fix our stress while we're still sitting in the middle of what's stressing us out? This story points to a totally different path. Change your surroundings first, then try to change your mind. Okay, so here's where we see the two worlds just clashing. On the left, you've got the chase, the city's endless treadmill of success, validation, approval, all things that are external and, totally conditional. And then on the right, you have the sea, calm, consistent, infinite. These are inherent qualities. He's literally trading a world of frantic performance for one of quiet presence. And this is where things get really interesting, right? A paradox. How can you possibly feel less alone when you are, by definition, alone? Well, the story seems to be saying that the loneliness of the city comes from that constant pressure to perform, to connect in these really superficial ways. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the loneliest places are the most crowded ones, because real connection, that has to start inside you first. Okay, so escaping is one thing, that's step one, but what happens next? It's not just sitting around and waiting for a miracle. No, it's an active daily practice, and the story gives it a name, the ritual of stillness. And what's so amazing about this is just how simple it is. This isn't some complex 12-step program for enlightenment. The ritual is basically just this: show up. For anyone out there feeling totally overwhelmed, this is such a powerful lesson. Real, profound change often doesn't start with a huge gesture. It starts with a small, repeatable action that creates a foundation, a constant in a life that had become total chaos. This idea is so powerful. I mean, think about that. Back in the city, his entire identity was wrapped up in his performance, his job, his successes, his failures. But the sea's impersonal. It doesn't judge you. It doesn't demand anything from you. Finding something that's bigger than our own little dramas, whether it's nature or art or just a simple routine, that can be an incredibly grounding anchor when our own sense of self feels really shaky. And look at this. You can literally see the internal shift happening right here in his notes. The focus is completely off those external goals, like success or approval. The words he's thinking about now are internal states of being: stillness, hope, and, wow, that revolutionary idea of just being enough. All right, so this is where it all starts to come together. This is the turning point of the whole story, the moment where all that quiet, consistent work finally starts to pay off. This is the revelation, the big aha moment. At first, he was just watching this huge, vast ocean. But the real breakthrough happens when his focus shifts from the grand and external to the small and internal, the sound of his own breath. This is such a huge takeaway for anyone who's ever tried mindfulness. The point isn't just to observe the world around you, it's to observe yourself in the world, to notice the tiny, quiet details of your own existence.
Okay, this, for me, might be the single most important lesson in this entire story. We always expect healing to be this dramatic, movie-like moment of sudden clarity, right? But the story argues it's the exact opposite. It's quiet. It's subtle. It's not a lightning strike. It's a gradual softening. So let's really break down this central metaphor. The story uses the ocean tide to explain healing, and we can boil it down to these 3 steps. 1, show up consistently, just like the tide, every single day. 2, erase yesterday's footprints. The tide washes the slate clean, and that's the lesson. Let go of the past. And 3, soften over time. Just like water eventually smooths out a jagged rock, consistency and patience will soften our own sharp edges.
So, in the end, the bench and the sea, they weren't the cure. They were the mirror. By stripping away all that external noise, all the demands, all the identities he was trying to uphold, the stillness finally allowed him to see who he really was underneath it all.
And that leads us to our final section, integration. How does this massive revelation actually change his understanding of life, of peace? Well, it's all about taking that lesson from the bench and completely redefining what it means to live.
This slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? It's the complete flip in his thinking. The old way of life, the one so many of us are stuck in, is all about climbing higher and constant movement. But the new realization is that real growth can be found in sitting still, and that sometimes progress is as simple and as profound as just pausing to breathe. It's a total reversal of a lifetime of conditioning.
And this is the payoff. This is the emotional peak of the whole story. That constant nagging feeling of being behind, of not measuring up, it just dissolves. And it's replaced by this quiet acceptance. The chase for more finally ends with the profound peace of feeling enough, right here, in this moment.
So, what is peace then? According to this story, its ultimate definition is this. It's not some destination out there that you have to find. It's a feeling that's already inside you, one you finally let in when you get quiet enough to hear it. And so we'll end with the very same question this story leaves us wrestling with. In a culture that worships the hustle, the grind, the constant motion, this story offers a really radical alternative. What if the answer we're all running so hard towards can only be found if we finally stop